How can I simplify Helm Values.yaml for dev, staging, and prod? Imagine trying to keep your Kubernetes deployment tidy when you have different settings for development, staging, and production. It can get messy fast. So how do you make it easier? Let's find out. First, understand that the Values.yaml file holds default configuration settings for your Helm chart. When you deploy, you can override these defaults for each environment. For example, you might want fewer replicas in development, more in production, or different resource limits. One way to simplify is to avoid deep nesting in your Values.yaml. Instead of creating complex hierarchies, use flat key-value pairs. For example, instead of server port 80, just write server port 80. This makes it easier to read and override in your environment-specific files. Next, stick to consistent naming conventions. Always start variable names with lowercase letters and use camelCase for multi-word names. For example, use replica count instead of replica count or replica count. This helps prevent conflicts with Helm's built-in variables and keeps everything uniform. Create separate override files for each environment. Instead of one big Values.yaml, have files like values.dev.yaml, values.staging.yaml, and values.prod.yaml. These files should only contain values that differ from the defaults. When deploying, specify the right file with the values flag. This keeps your main Values.yaml clean and your environment settings clear. Use Helm's built-in functions for fallback values. For example, in your templates, you can write default when values replica count. This means if replica count isn't set, it defaults to 1. It makes your charts more flexible and less prone to errors. Be careful not to add too many parameters. Only include options that are really needed for each environment. Extra parameters can make your charts complicated and harder to maintain. Focus on what truly varies between dev, staging, and production. Document your values well. Add comments in your Values.yaml explaining what each setting does. For example, #server port is the port your web server listens on. This helps your team understand the configuration and reduces mistakes. Use helper templates for common patterns. For example, create a label template in helpers.dpl to generate consistent labels across your resources. This keeps your templates clean and makes updates easier. Finally, only update your chart version when you change the structure or templates, not every time you update an image. This keeps your version history meaningful and avoids unnecessary complexity. In cloud environments like Amazon Web Services, Microsoft Azure, or Google Cloud, these practices help keep your Helm charts secure, scalable, and easy to automate. They make deploying to different environments predictable and smooth, fitting well into continuous integration and continuous delivery pipelines. Simplifying your Values.yaml files means less hassle, fewer errors, and more time to focus on building great applications.